the man behind the story of Father Christmas Santa Claus. Saint Nicholas was a bishop who lived in the 4th century in a place called Myra in Asia Minor, now called Turkey. He was a very rich man because his parents died when he was young and left him a lot of money. He was also a very kind man and had a reputation for helping the poor and giving secret gifts to people who needed it. There are several legends about Saint Nicholas, although we don't know if any of them are true. The most famous story about Saint Nicholas tells how the custom of hanging up stockings to get presents in first started. It goes like this. The bag fell into a stocking that had been hung by the fire to dry. This was repeated later with the second daughter. Finally, determined to discover the person who had given him the money, the father secretly hid by the fire every evening until he caught Nicholas dropping in a bag of gold. Nicholas begged the man to not tell anyone what he had done because he did not want to bring attention to himself. But soon the news got out, and when anyone received a secret gift, it was thought that maybe it was from Nicholas. Because of his kindness, Nicholas was made a saint. Saint Nicholas is not only the saint of children, but also of sailors. One story tells of him helping some sailors that were caught in a dreadful storm off the coast of Turkey. The storm was raging around them, and all the men were terrified that their ship would sink beneath the giant waves. They prayed to Saint Nicholas to help them. Suddenly, he was standing on the deck before them. He ordered the sea to be calm. The storm died away, and they were able to sail their ship safely to port. Saint Nicholas was exiled from Myra and later put in prison during the persecution by the Emperor Diocletian. No one really knows when he died, but it was on 6th December in either 345 or 352. In 1087, his bones were stolen from Turkey by some Italian merchant sailors. The bones are now kept in the church named after him in the Italian port of Bari. On St. Nicholas' feast day, 6th December, the sailors of Bari still carry his statue from the cathedral out to sea so that he can bless the waters and so give them safe voyages throughout the year. In 1066, before he set sail to England, William the Conqueror prayed to St. Nicholas asking that his conquest would go well. You can find out lots about St. Nicholas at the St. Nicholas Center. How St. Nicholas became Santa Claus. In the 16th century in Northern Europe, after the Reformation, the stories and traditions about St. Nicholas became unpopular. But someone had to deliver presents to children at Christmas, so in the UK, particularly in England, he became Father Christmases or Old Man Christmases, an old character from stories plays during the Middle Ages in the UK and parts of Northern Europe. In France, he was then known as Père Noël. St. Nicholas became popular again in the Victorian era when writers, poets, and artists rediscovered the old stories. In 1823, the famous poem A Visit from St. Nicholas's or 'Twas the Night Before Christmases was published. Dr. Clement Clark Moore later claimed that he had written it for his children. Some scholars now believe that it was actually written by Henry Livingston Jr., who was a distant relative of Dr. Moore's wife. The poem describes St. Nicholas with 8 reindeer and gives them their names. They became really well known in the song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, written in 1949. Do you know all 8 names? Click on Rudolph's nose to find out. The UK Father Christmas and the American Santa Claus became more and more alike over the years and are now one and the same. Some people say that Santa lives at the North Pole. In Finland, they say that he lives in the north part of their country called Lapland. But everyone agrees that he travels through the sky on a sledge that is pulled by reindeer, that he comes into houses down the chimney at night and places presents for the children in socks or bags by their beds, in front of the family Christmas tree, or by the fireplace. Most children receive their presents on Christmas Eve night or early Christmas morning, but in some countries they get their presents on St. Nicholas's Eve, December 5th. This image of Santa became very popular, with more artists drawing Santa in his red and white